You're in a toxic relationship and you've been debating for the past several months, do I leave the relationship or do I stay because I have kids? And you're worried about, hey, I don't know if they should be in a broken household because then they're going to be with him 50% of the time. They're going to be with me 50% of the time. Is it actually worth it? What is it going to do to the kids? And you might even be thinking it's better to be able to stay in this relationship because at least there's cohesiveness. At least they have a father figure. They have a mom. They have one house that they can all live in. At least it's better for them. Maybe you came from a broken household and you're like, well, that's not going to be me. And you're letting your pride and your ego get in the way and saying, hey, I'm not going to have the broken family. There's been broken families all of my life through all of my family. It's not going to happen to me. Now, I want you to consider for a moment, how is all of this affecting your kids? Like, a lot of times people are like, I want to do this for my kids, but let's really be honest. How is this actually affecting them? You see, oftentimes the kids interacting with a toxic person over a long period of time will create more toxicity in their life, whether that's them becoming a narcissist or whether that's them getting involved in a narcissistic relationship down the road, because that's what they're used to. Because they're only seeing modeled mom enabling and being a part of it, or they're seeing dad being abusive and they're like, well, that's just how men are. And then they go be with someone else who takes advantage of them. How is this going to affect your kids? Like, I really want you to sit with this and think with this. Like, don't pause this. Don't get away from this. Don't stop this, because it's going to be easy for you to run away from this topic because it's not fun. But the problem is you've been running from different things in your life thinking, well, that's not fun to deal with, and you're still left dealing with it. It's just taking you a lot longer. So I want you to consider, how is this actually affecting your kids today? How is the disconnection from their father actually affecting them? How is it changing their perspective of relationships, of how you show up in the relationship? How is it producing this anxiety and this stress where they know they can't feel safe around him? They don't even want to see him half the time. They don't even want to talk to him half the time. They safeguard their own feelings. They start to shut down. You have maybe one of your kids like doesn't even talk to you, doesn't even talk to him because they don't feel safe. And you want to keep them in this. Sometimes parents want to keep the family together purely out of selfish reasons, because they don't want to have that family that's broken apart. They don't want to go through the pain of it because they're too worried that it's going to be too hurtful. They don't want to go through the pain of the finances and having to divvy everything out and figure everything out. And oftentimes they're stuck in this place of like, hey, I'll just justify and I'll stay in the relationship because it's better for the kids. Can I tell you that I've never seen an environment where it's better for the kids to be in a toxic environment 24/7. I've never seen it. Like, I've never had an interaction with someone that are like, yeah, my kids are growing and thriving and developing, being in this toxic relationship. It's great. I've never seen it. But right now, some of you are debating if you should stay for the kids. And have you considered that staying for the kids is one of the weakest excuses, and oftentimes is one of the excuses that will only further hurt your kids? Maybe you're watching this, you're like, but he's a good dad. That's bullshit. It's true. Because a good dad shows respect to the mom. A good dad shows how it is to actually lead a family. A good dad doesn't cheat on his wife. A good dad shows the wife respect and honor. A good dad holds space for the kids to express their emotions and their feelings. A good dad works with them, helps them, encourages them, versus how he's showing up. Oftentimes you'll see these good dads where you're just trying to justify staying in a toxic relationship. If he was a good dad, you wouldn't be watching my content. If he was a good dad, you wouldn't be here now. If he was a good dad, you wouldn't be debating leaving. Stop telling yourself lies and other people justifications to stay in a toxic relationship, and start looking at the real reason of why do you actually want to stay. It's not for the kids. The kids are only going to be hurt more. You're like, but it's going to hurt them being 50% here and 50% there. Is it really? Because I want you to consider 50% of the time they get to be in a safe, loving, secure environment where they can show up. Right now, they don't have that at all. Like, they don't have that at all. What would that showcase to them if they saw mom stand up for herself and say, no, we're getting a divorce, we're separating because how you've been treating me and the kids is abusive? How would that shift for them if they're able to show up and be safe in the environment, in your own house, be safe to be able to share their emotions? Maybe you've already been disconnected from some of them because you're spending so much time safeguarding them from him. You're spending so much time focusing on him. You're spending so much time on everything else. To one of the most amazing opportunities you have, and that's to lead your kids. But right now, you're too afraid to lead your kids because you're afraid of him. Or you're afraid of what he'll think about you, or you're afraid of the future, whatever it might be. Oftentimes, there's more fear-driven than there is actual, I love my kids and I want the best for my kids. Some of you might be watching this and you might get pissed off at me. Sorry. This is what I see. And I see too many parents that will justify staying in a toxic relationship because he's a quote-unquote good dad, but an abusive husband. Those two things don't match up. They don't actually connect. Well, the kids have never seen anything. They know a lot more than you think you know. So many times the kids know that the person's toxic before you even do. Because they see it, they understand it, they have an unfiltered, unbiased version of life that a lot of times they're looking through their own eyes. They see it so many times before you do. Stop thinking that you're saving the kids from this toxicity by having them in the toxicity 24/7. You're like, but I'm afraid. I get it. You're like, I don't know how. I get it. You're like, I don't know if it's possible. I get it. Please reach out for help. We work with people in and out of the relationships all the time, helping them rewire their mindset. Because if we don't change the mindset, you won't be free. You will stay stuck and it will have an everlasting impact on your kids. So I want you to consider today, how is it affecting your kids today? How is it affecting your kids now? And really ask yourself the question, am I staying in this relationship actually for the kids? Is this actually the best thing for the kids? Are they actually going to grow and develop and become the best version of themselves with a toxic person that continually has influence on their life?